lovers, the moon is a thing of beauty. But to this man it is a deadly curse. When the moon is full, this miserable wretch turns into a hairy, snarling half-man, half-beast. Prowls the night, his fangs thirsty for human blood. He is a werewolf.
Welcome to the Werewolf by Night podcast, the show where we talk about Marvel's number one lycanthrope, Jack Russell, a.k.a. the Werewolf, a.k.a. the Beast, a.k.a. the Shaggy One. I'm your co-host, Matt Howell.
I'm your other host, Jacob Balcom.
Thanks for joining us this week, gang. We're here to talk about the first issue of a monster crossover that took up 2 issues here that was fan-demanded since the beginning of Werewolf by Night. This is the Great Dracula Werewolf Dust-Up saga.
You know I like calling things a saga.
Yes, so this takes place, starts in the Tomb of Dracula in issue 18, which is what we'll be talking about today, and then it resolves in Werewolf by Night number 15. Like I said, it was fan-demanded. It was in the letters column from the get-go, people asking for it to happen, and I think it was pretty anticipated.
Yeah, I'm sure people were really excited about this pairing.
Is it fair to say that Tomb of Dracula was the most successful of the Marvel Monster Wave?
Well, like you've mentioned in episodes past, I would love to be able to get some numbers, some stats on issues sold at around this time, but nah, that info just isn't out there. But I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I can't see a world where this wouldn't be the most popular of the monster titles.
I mean, just based on paper, it ran the longest, I think, of all the monster books. It had the most spin-offs. It had a giant size. It had Dracula Lives, Vampire Tales, which was Dracula and other characters also spun out of that for a while. So I think it was just the most successful just because of how many titles were behind it, at least, right, in its run.
I would assume so, that they're just really trying to milk that public domain Dracula property as much as they could.
And also, I think another indicator of its success is the fact that for the majority of the run, it was written by the same person and drawn by the same person. To me, that means that if the creative team stays the same, they're not trying to fix anything. So, and Marvel cares about money. So to me, that means they're selling books.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was really thinking, I think the main creators on this have a run that is pretty unparalleled. I was trying to think of other runs at the time that were, Tomb of Dracula goes for 70 issues, I think. And I think 70, I think it's Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan on 60 at least, I think, right around there, if I was correct. And I was trying to think of another title where the creative team stayed consistent for that long, and I couldn't think of one.
You mean like around this time?
Yeah, around that time.
Because Stan and Jack's run on FF was how long?
Well, that's, I don't know, 90 issues or something. It's a lot.
But yeah, I don't know many that were this long either.
No, it's up there.
Especially if something that is kind of considered what I would think is a fad. I mean, we talked about this from the first episode, that this wave of monster books was a fad, essentially. They were milking something. The code had relaxed. They were trying to get some of that money that Creepy and Eerie and everybody else were getting. And so they were doing their own version of it. And I feel like I'm sounding cynical, but Marvel's a business. And once it doesn't make enough money, they cancel it and they move on. So the fact that these monster books ran as long as they did is an indication that they must have sold fairly well.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, you're right. I mean, it is all about sales, but it does seem that they were really excited to jump on it when the code relaxed. If I'm correct, they were able to use werewolves. They just, dropped that word from the code altogether. But I think it was as far as vampires went, it had to be stuff that was a literary tradition.
Okay.
So, yeah, they had to use Dracula.
Or Carmilla von Karnstein or whoever that literary character is.
Yeah, that would have preceded Dracula, yeah.
Yeah, other than that, there's not many to be referencing, right?
No,
without
there isn't.
Varney the Vampire. You want to go back to the Penny Dreadfuls.
Yeah.
Have you ever read that, Varney the Vampire?
No.
You read about it, though, right? Like it.
I don't know if I know what you're talking about. Yeah, let me know what that is.
So it was a serialized Penny Dreadful that I think it had, one pen name, but it had several authors. I think there was primarily one author for the majority of the work. I'm forgetting his name right now. It's escaping me. But it ran for an insanely long time, and it was very popular. And I think when it was all done, it was around like 1,200 pages. You can download it. You can download it from Gutenberg.org or anywhere where you get public domain stuff. I was actually surprised. I downloaded it when I first got a Kindle like 8 years ago and read the first couple chapters, and it was really fun. I mean, it starts off with a bang and just an exciting thing, and it's fuck Dark Shadows, man. This thing actually, shit happens, and I was really impressed by it. It was very pulpy and totally entertaining.
So it was like serialized in Penny Dreadfuls, like a David Diligent adventure.
Yeah. It ran for quite a while. So, but I've only seen it in print a few times, but it's huge.
Cool. Wow. I'll have to check that out.
It's worth checking out. But that was the only other literary, I'm putting air quotes here, literary vampire of Gothic tradition that I could think of that they could use legitimately.
Yes.
The great thing about Tomb of Dracula here is that we have continuity of care with our writer, because Marv Wolfman stepped up to Werewolf by Night a few issues ago, took over the book. You and I have been talking the last couple episodes about how much we're digging. We thought it was a rocky start with that first Hangman issue, I think was the first one he wrote. We weren't quite sure he'd done his homework, that he was really being true to the book itself. It's like he kind of threw out a script, and then he really dug in and made it his own the next few issues, and we've been digging that. And he's been writing Tomb of Dracula at this point now for a few issues as well, and is the main writer of the rest of the run. So we have that, and we have a brilliant artist, like we mentioned earlier, that was paired with him for most of the whole run, and that's Gene Colan, who Jacob's going to tell you a little bit about his history.
Yeah, I mean, Gene Colan is a titan. He's super old school, been in comics for a very long time. He was born in 1926. I looked up his first credited story was done for Fiction House in Wings number 53, and it's a war story starring pilot Clipper Kirk, and it's from January of 1945. I actually found it on Comic Book Plus, which is like a public domain comic book site. You can go, and they have all of the issues of Wings on there. And so, yeah, I actually read it. The story is nothing special. It's, it's a typical World War II story. But yeah, so soon after he was working for Fiction House, he went to work for Martin Goodman at Timely. And he worked there for a large portion of his career. I mean, he did work for the other major publishers kind of during his entire career, but he was one of those artists that was there through all the incarnations of Marvel Comics. So like during the Timely period, he drew a lot of crime and romance comics. He did some really great horror and sci-fi stuff in the Atlas era. And in the Silver Age, I guess he's most famous probably for his work on Daredevil in the 60s, but he also had a really big run on Captain America, Silver Surfer. He did a lot of stuff. I'm the biggest fan of his Atlas stuff. He did a couple covers and stories for Menace, which is my favorite Atlas era title. And he did lots of cool shit. He did lots of stuff in the early Journey into Mystery, like lots of really, really cool stuff. By the 70s, I think his work on Tomb of Dracula and Howard the Duck is probably the most legendary stuff. I mean, he co-created the Falcon, Carol Danvers, and Blade, but I knew him best from Howard the Duck, honestly, because he did a lot of work on that, and I love Howard the Duck. So I had read the first Tomb of Dracula Essential, the black and white collection, years ago, and so yeah, I was kind of familiar with the stuff there. But more recently, I had gone back and read a lot of his Howard the Duck stuff.
The Essentials was my intro to Tomb of Dracula as well, and I feel like I just took mainlined a bunch of Gene Colan through all those collections, but I knew him from Daredevil, I think, first.
Yeah, that's probably the other thing. I think if you were to choose two things he was famous for at Marvel, I would say Daredevil and Tomb of Dracula.
I'm forgetting, when was this Cap run? You're saying it's around Falcon?
Yeah, it was late 60s, right? I think.
I guess I never read any collections from that period, so I don't really think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I went back and looked at it. It's real nice to look at. It's the stories didn't grab me very much, but his art is always really great to look at.
Yeah.
And he stayed really busy. He worked until his death basically in 2009. The last thing he had published was actually a full issue of Captain America that he won an Eisner for. Which I thought was pretty cool.
When was that?
2005, I think. I can't remember. Right around there.
So he did a guest work on like a Brubaker issue of Captain America or something? Or was this a one shot or?
No, it was God, I can't remember the issue number of it. I didn't look it up, but yeah, I would like to. But you're right, that would kind of be around a Brubaker run. So yeah, I mean, he's just an important and prolific figure in comics. And I'm really excited that we actually have the chance to talk about his artwork this episode. This will be the only time when Gene Colan kind of comes into the Werewolf by Night universe. So it's a treat.
Was his timely era stuff? What was his style, like the evolution of his personal style? Like I associate him with his Tomb of Dracula period so much, which is that kind of fluid line and kind of I don't want to say sketchy because that sounds insulting, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Like his very distinctive style.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think his Timely or his Atlas stuff looks like that really at all. His Atlas stuff a little bit more. I think, I did a little dive into his bio, not as much as I normally do, but it seemed like he was a guy who did real loose pencils. So I know some people had a hard time kind of knowing how to ink him. And I think Tom Palmer was kind of his go-to guy. And I think, especially on Tomb of Dracula, and I think that he was his best collaborator. And I think we know that style from the 70s, I think definitely has a lot to do with Tom Palmer and his inks.
Was Palmer paired with him for most of this run?
He's paired for him for a lot of it. Yeah, for sure. And, Tom Palmer, so he had a few penciling credits like early in his career, but he's most famous for being an inker. And he had some pretty killer collaborations, kind of including my favorite pre-Claremont X-Men run. He did the issues with Neil Adams that are so cool. I think it's like X-Men 56 through 59. I think it's right around 1969. But, we've already seen his work in our run that we're covering because he inked the Neil Adams cover of Marvel Spotlight 2.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Let's go way back.
Yeah, right back to the beginning.
So far back that we didn't even realize that was Neil Adams, that episode.
Oh, God. We were such babies.
Were we ever so young?
And, we'll see him one more time. He returns to the title on the cover issue of... it's the cover of issue 19. It's penciled by Gil Kane.
Oh, okay.
Which this cover is, too.
So let's dive into the cover, then, of Tomb of Dracula, number 18, from March of 1974. So this art is by the great Gil Kane, and it's inked by Tom Palmer, but I did see that there was a note on the GCD site for this that John Romita Sr. came in, and they asked him to do alterations to the werewolf and the woman.
I think it's pretty obvious. So John Romita has been the official art director at Marvel since July of 73. He was unofficially doing it for about a year before then. And it seems like he would tweak the covers a bit to make them conform to the house-approved style. Most of the time, he would tweak the faces. So you can definitely see the woman, who I'm assuming is Topaz, definitely has a Romita face. Would you agree?
Yes. That one was more noticeable to me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of noticed the werewolf a little bit, but yeah, the woman, Topaz, her face has definitely been altered. But this is a very common thing that he did for years, like with covers. I mean, especially in this era, if you're looking up the cover credits on GCD, there's alterations by Romita on a ton of issues.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess I should put in the cart before the horse here. So the cover is a modern-day city setting with a full moon, and there's these skyscrapers in the foreground. Count Dracula is holding on to a blonde woman that we were assuming is Topaz, who has fainted. and he's on top of a building, and from an adjacent taller building, the werewolf is leaping towards him with his claws bared and his fangs bared and lunging towards the vampire. And the title says, Man by Day, Werewolf by Night. Two of Marvel's most macabre superstars in a battle of the monsters. And I like how the background of the sky is a bunch of vertical lines. Is a blue with black, like it's like pinstripes. It's a weird effect.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I almost wondered if we shouldn't have add something to the drinking game,
Okay.
where if we see a cover that has nothing to do with the issue whatsoever, then we should have to take a little drink. And this cover has nothing to do with the issue, so let's drink.
I'm having a sip of Buffalo Trace, and I like that rule. It's going in.
I'm drinking some of the Long Branch that you got me for Christmas, and it is amazing.
So I feel like you're setting us up to become alcoholics, though, because this is part and parcel of comics. Comic book covers are notorious for doing this.
No, this is going to make up for the fact that Jack is more mature now, so he doesn't do a lot of the stupid stuff that we had established that we would have to drink at. So this just makes sure that we at least have 2 sips during the issue, which I think is totally fine.
Yes. So what did you think of the cover?
The cover's awesome. Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was hilarious, especially when I read the issue, and I'm like, oh, there's no city at all in the issue. None of this happens. And that barely looks like Topaz.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's supposed to be Topaz. I mean, considering they're not even in the setting of the story, that might just be... I mean, if you folks haven't read Tomb of Dracula, we'll give you a real quick overview of it so you can follow along at home. But Dracula, they took advantage of the relaxing of the code. Dracula feeds a lot in this book, so there are a lot of victims of him. So this could just be a typical damsel. If you haven't seen Marvel's Tomb of Dracula, when Gene Colan draws him, which, I mean, he drew this cover, but I mean, when he's in full Gene Colan, like airy, wispy light, what?
Oh, Gil Kane drew the cover.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I'm glad you caught me.
Sorry.
I was going to say, when Gene Colan... No, I'm glad. I need to be corrected. When Gene Colan draws him, the giant collar... I mean, his collar... Both he and Morbius have ridiculous outfits, but like Dracula's collar in the comics is like a foot long. Like these big jutting... It goes far above his head. So he almost looks like he had... he has like a cone on, like a dog after going to the vet. So it looks cool when Colan does it because it's very expressionistic and kind of evocative and artsy and cool. But like with Kane drawing it here, it just looks like I said, like he's had a surgery at the vets.
Yeah.
So he's a very goofy looking character when drawn by certain people because he is ridiculous. This is the mid 70s and the guy's wearing a cape and dark blue suit. With red interior lining. Sorry, should have mentioned that.
Oh yeah, that's a big part of it. And also, this is one of the 878 covers that Gil Kane did in the 70s. So know.
So you mentioned that our new drinking game rule. There's a lot of covers that have no bearing on what happens in the story. I thought that was interesting that they chose to do that on this particular one. Because, like you were saying, the interior is entirely set. Well, it's like I was wondering, like, why would they put this in an urban modern setting when the story is in an anachronistic 1800s type of setting?
Yeah.
Right. But then I was like, well, are they doing that because werewolves and vampires have been fighting each other in comic books for the last 20 years? So that's probably kind of worn out for most kids at this point. So they wanted to update it and make it look like it's not like every other comic they'd seen their entire lives.
Yeah,
trying to hip it up.
I guess, but as far as in the 60s, werewolves and vampires weren't fighting each other.
Oh, right. The code.
So, yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's trying
eerie.
to. Yeah, that's true. If they were able to get those more adult magazines, but I guess maybe because Werewolf by Night is more of a urban setting for the most part. Maybe they were trying to, kind of marry those two worlds. But again, who knows when this cover was drawn? Like,
fair enough. So it's a great cover, though. But let's dive in and find out how unurban it really is. I guess I should do the service of giving the listener a bit of a Tomb of Dracula overview just for you following along at home. So this book, wildly popular. It's about the famous Vlad, that Dracula, the one you all know from every movie, every whatever. And he is risen again, and he's fighting one of his descendants, whose name is Frank Drake, which I think he modernized Dracula to just Drake. And he's kind of like a jack dude. He's just a swinging early 70s guy. I think Jacob, you might be able to correct me on this. Is he going to get his inheritance, like an estate or something from his family, and then he gets mixed up with Dracula? Is that how this whole thing starts?
He inherits the castle, and so I think in the first two issues of Tomb of Dracula were written by Jerry Conway.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm correct, Frank Drake inherits this castle. Him and his buddy and Frank's girlfriend go to check it out, and end up, I think it's Frank's buddy ends up taking the stake out of the skeleton of Dracula and basically brings him back to life. But then Frank sells the castle, I think, by like the third issue.
Mm-hmm.
But by then, or right around then, is kind of hooking up with the descendant of Van Helsing.
Yes, so he meets Rachel Van Helsing, and she is a vampire hunter, just like her grandfather, whatever. And they also meet a descendant of Jonathan Harker, Quincy Harker. If you remember, Jonathan Harker was Keanu Reeves in the terrible Coppola movie. No, Jonathan Harker is the dude in the story of vampire the story of Dracula, that goes to Transylvania to broker the deal to sell the Carfax Abbey to this strange count, and he's the one that's the first victim of Dracula, and he becomes one of the heroes. So his descendant is Quincy Harker, and he's wheelchair bound, and he's kind of this lifelong hunt for Dracula, for vengeance. So Rachel Van Helsing and Quincy Harker join up with Frank Drake, and they're kind of the main characters, right? At this point, fan favorite character of Blade had been introduced also. So there's an African-American vampire hunter who was very 70s at the time. He had an afro and green goggles, green safety glasses. And I think he wore stakes across, like on a bandolier on his long leather jacket.
Oh, yeah.
He was very groovy.
Yeah, he was. I think I read somewhere it was Wolfman talking about how he was a little embarrassed with how he wrote Blade's dialogue.
And he should be.
Yeah, he should be. As anyone that's read the early 70s, Marvel, when they finally did decide to make main characters, of color, their dialogue was very blaxploitation and very, very corny. We ran into that a lot with Luke Cage.
Yeah, if you folks have heard us talk about how hippies talk so far in Werewolf by Night, just to apply that same type of tone-deaf idiocy to African Americans.
Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing, but I liked reading that Marv Wolfman was appropriately embarrassed.
Yes.
He was like, I don't feel good about that.
At this point, I think Dracula has basically had his whole residency in England for the most part. I think he's traveled around. There's been some adventures. This is a year and a half into the title, but at this point, he's going back to Transylvania where this story is, right? That's the first time that really kind of happened since the beginning. So talk to me about this splash page here.
Well, it's super amazing. Like the opening page is kind of, it's a full page drawing of like a battle between the Beast and Dracula. And it's like their giant ghostly forms are fighting behind a landscape of Castle Dracula. And at the bottom of the page, it says, "Because you demanded it, enter Werewolf by Night." And it's an amazing page. We're definitely going to put it up on the Instagram feed because it's really, really amazing.
And that is a great taste of 70s Gene Colan style right there. That whole thing is just beautiful architecture. And that I love that, like you're saying, that the two monsters battling abstractly in the sky like kaiju behind the castle. It's amazing.
It totally is. Yeah, it's so good. And I think we're really seeing a lot of Tom Palmer's inks too. And just and like you were saying, it looks loose, but it's not loose at all. Like that's the first adjective I want to use, but it's flowing. It's a very controlled kind of flowing illustration, and it's quite beautiful.
Yeah, I think flowing is a much better, more apt description than loose. It's masterful strokes, so it's very controlled while also being very fluid. Mm-hmm. And like you're saying, Tom Palmer's inks of Castle Dracula, the heavy, I mean, the two monsters battling in the sky, the inking is a very light, kind of airy, appropriately so. And then when you go down to Castle Dracula, the inking is just leaden, all these heavy, dark shadows and lines, and it's just such great textures in there. Beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like, I went back and reread some of the earlier issues of Tomb, and I really think that, let's give a preview of the issue, I think that Marv Wolfman, Gene Colan, and Tom Palmer have really hit their stride by this point. Like, this is, and I think in reading a little bit about the series, this era is kind of what people think of as peak Tomb of Dracula. Like about from Blade's first appearance, which I think is 10 or 11, to, issue 30 something, I think is kind of what's considered the peak Tomb of Dracula era.
You know me, I like the goofier the better. So, I mean, I love this peak stuff and when it is the most gothic and romantic and whatever. But I also like when an Asian scientist gets his brain put into a golden metal body and he's stomping around with his brain in a glass box on top of it. So, like Dr. Sun, I love that stuff.
Oh, Dr. Sun is such a weird character.
So when you say Tomb of Dracula, I think of Dr. Sun, then I realize, no, most people are dialing it back to the first 2 years when it was considered a little more classical.
Yeah, even though I did notice like a theme, at least in the issues that I read up to this, it's all about like our Scooby-Doo gang of Frank and Rachel, and they're just all about destroying the many coffins that he has sequestered away in many, many different places. That seems to be kind of a well they go to a lot. Yeah,
it is. And that comes up later in this issue, the deficit of coffins with Transylvanian earth in them. What I recall from Tomb of Dracula, particularly the early stuff when he's mostly in England, is that Marv Wolfman seemed to be suffering under the illusion that it was still 1880, but somehow also 1960, and everyone's Cockney, no matter
everyone.
Where like everyone's basically a shepherd, but sometimes they have motorbikes and leather jackets for some reason, but everyone's like really Cockney. Like ridiculously so. And my other recollection, I talked about this, I think, on the show a long time ago, but Wolfman's prose is very, is lugubrious a word?
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's an appropriate word. Very, what am I trying to say? It's heavy and not pretentious, but he's trying to sound like, if there's a bat, it's an ebon-winged bat. Like everything's like that to the point of irritation for me.
Yeah, ebon winged, he definitely goes back to that a lot.
So he gets a little flowery, I guess would probably be the best way to say it. And
yes.
So I always dig the stories and stuff, but sometimes the narration gets on my nerves in Tomb of Dracula. So the last read through I did of it, I skipped a lot of that.
Yeah, it was really neat to read the first two issues that Jerry Conway did because, again, when he goes for that heavy prose, he has such a lighter touch with it. And I don't know if that comes with just being so young, but it works way better. Like, I know this is Wolfman's book. I know that what he did on this was great, but I kind of wish that Jerry Conway had written more of the early issues aside from those first two, because it went through a few writers before Wolfman took over for good.
Right. Maybe we can ask Conway about that.
I think we absolutely should.
I think I posted this in our feed, but when I shared that you bought me that Mind Ship book for Christmas, he said, "Wowza."
Yeah, I loved that. It was so great.
So I think that was a blast from the past for him. And so
yeah, I guess not as many people talk to him about Mind Ship as they do about the death of Gwen Stacy. So
yep. And so I got a seed of an idea there. Like, well, I will read this, and then I'm going to hand it off to you to read it, and then we're going to talk about it on the show. We're going to mention it in the show notes. He will be tagged, and he'll be like, all right, I got to talk to these guys. These guys are deep cut guys. Because we are.
That is a brilliant master plan.
Yeah. I was due. Okay, let's dig in. So when we last left Topaz and Jack, they had just had stepdad / uncle Philip's mind restored to him. All was revealed. Jack had made peace with his stepfather, the most hated person in the world to him. And they're now they love each other. And Jack has to go back home to his biological father's estate to see if he can get some answers about the curse of lycanthropy. So that's where we are now. So cut to a train here. I'm going to read over this text. Transylvania. A 2-day journey is about to end here in this ancient village hidden deep within the Romanian wasteland. But for Jack Russell and the mysterious girl named Topaz, the journey has yet to begin. For this bleak village is where an infant Jacob Rusoff was born, and an Americanized Jack Russell came to life. So, giving the Tomb of Dracula reader here a little dive into Jack. So we see them in their berth, and they both have bunk beds in a private room on the train. And, Jack's yawning, and he's like, man, I couldn't sleep a wink last night, Topaz. I spent the whole night counting sheep until they dozed off on me. How'd you do? And she says, I slept, but I was having these crazy dreams about taboo. And he says, well, that makes sense. I can dig that. I mean, he was enough to give Boris Karloff nightmares. I had an issue with this so far because Jack's around 19 now, and they're in love. And there is no chaperone, right?
No.
Okay. So they got separate beds?
Well, see, I thought about this too. I think it's a more fair point later on when they get 2 rooms at the inn. But, a lot of train sleeper cars will have bunk beds. I can cite precedent by saying the second Thin Man movie, when Nick and Nora are on a train, they have similar situation.
So it's like single bunks. So it's not it wouldn't be comfortable to shack up anyway.
Yeah, no, that would be it'd be fairly uncomfortable. I'm going to say that they did, though.
Okay. They're talking about, she's asking, how much do you know about your father? And he's like, not really much. I remember him as being a kind, loving man. But, I was really young, but he also gave me the curse of the werewolf. And she's saying, I think that you can cure yourself. And I know that's why you wanted to come here. And if there's anything I can do to help you, I will. I want you to believe that. And then there's a moment's tenderness before the days of horror to come, and they start kissing. And I just have to say that Gene Colan draws really pretty women.
Yeah, he really does. Even though, in that middle panel of Jack's face, I really like how Gene Colan drew Jack's face. And a couple times in here, I think it's really, really good. Yes,
but the 2 Topaz drawings in the bottom panels are gorgeous.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
Yeah. That is all.
We cut to outside the train. The train basically is arriving at its destination. The narration talks of 4 strangers, 2 pairs who go their separate ways, meaning Jack and Topaz, and then our 2 vampire hunters, Frank Drake and Rachel Van Helsing, who are also on the train. And from there, we jump to inside Castle Dracula and see the big man himself fly in as a bat, then transform, saying, but here in this land that spawned me, all cower before the sound of my voice, all bow before my lordly presence. So he is doing a pretty awesome villain thing of just screaming to no one as he arrives at his castle, which maybe I would do the same thing. If I owned a fucking castle, I probably would just announce my name loudly as I came in through the door.
I might have done the listener a disservice and not talking about the character of Dracula and what he's like in this comic book, because he is as you would think, he's a very arrogant person, and he pontificates and talks down and condescends to everyone constantly about how weak and stupid they are and whatever. So, and they're like mortal sheep and all that kind of stuff. So this is very much in keeping with his personality. He is a big, loud, brash character, which is interesting for the main character of a book that ran for 70 some issues.
Yeah, no, he's pretty over the top. He's not a subtle Nosferatu vampire at all.
His whole speech as the bat flies into Castle Dracula, he transforms into his human form, and he's looking at this portrait of himself from, the 1600s, 1500s, whatever. But this whole speech he's saying sounded exactly to me like Bela Lugosi in Bride of the Monster, that Ed Wood movie. That big speech that he wrote for Bela to do, that hunt home, I have no home. Hunted, despised.
I know. I thought the same thing. I have that in my notes. It's so awesome.
Home. I have no home. Hunted, despised. I know. I thought the same thing. I have that in my notes. It's so awesome. I know. I thought the same thing. I have that in my notes. It's so awesome. I know. I thought the same thing. I have that in my notes. It's so awesome. I know. I thought the same thing. I have that in my notes. It's so awesome.
Oh.
I have no home. Hunted. Despised. Living like an animal. The jungle is my home. That I will show the world that I can be its master. I will perfect my own race of people. A race of atomic supermen which will conquer the world.
Yeah, and then it was hard for me not to hear his voice in Bela from here on out. I know. It was really awesome.
And there's another peeve of mine on this page. As he's looking at the portrait of himself when he was immortal, he references his wife being killed or something, his past. And then there's a little note from Roy Thomas that says, that was all back in Dracula Lives #4. And they pimped that goddamn spinoff book so hard, it always irked me. I've never read it, but it seems, is it all just about his transformation into Dracula, the monster?
I have no idea. I was looking. I guess it's all collected in the third Essential Tomb.
Oh, I think it's in the third omnibus as well, and that's the one I don't have.
Yeah, but no, they talk about those books a lot in this issue. Mm-hmm. And I also noticed, there's so many Roy Thomas editorial notes in this, just a much more than a normal issue.
Yes, lots of notes, especially for a title that's 18 issues in. It's not X-Men, right? I mean,
no. There's one on every page for a while.
Virtually, yes. So there's more DL plugs. Dracula Lives. He's looking at his wife. He's thinking of how she was murdered. Again, this is all just them trying to sell the spinoff title, so it always pisses me off. And then we cut to the catacombs beneath Paris, and we see Quincy Harker, and he has found Blade. Did you read issue 17 to kind of prep for this one? I skimmed through it, and I kind of remember what happened here, but it doesn't matter. The point is, I think that Blade he's a half vampire, folks, if you don't know this. His mother was bitten by a vampire while she was pregnant with him, so he's what's called a daywalker, and he has the strengths of a vampire without being fully undead, essentially. But I think he was attacked by a vampire here, so Quincy Harker has found him. He's going to give him peace. He pulls one of his stakes out of his cane, because he has all these cool little James Bond wheelchair things, like he can push a button and a bunch of wooden ash stakes will shoot out of the side of the wheelchair. And he has all kinds of stuff like that. So he's just about to put Blade out of his misery and give him eternal peace. And then it says, but we shall not see its impact. That is for the next issue.
So in issue 17, the first couple pages are Dracula and Blade fighting, and Dracula gets the drop on Blade and seems to kill him.
But by bite?
Yeah.
I'm assuming? Okay. And then there's, this is that kind of comics time I love so much, right? Like the stake is inches from his chest, and then it's like, but I'm going to push pause on that and go tell 3 days worth of adventure and then come back and show you what happened 2 seconds from now.
It really is one of the best things about this medium.
It really is. I love it. And then we cut back to the end of the journey. And it says, while now we again change our scene back to an ill-lit country road in the central square of Transylvania. I'm a nitpicker. I know this. I'm a pedantic asshole. Transylvania isn't a village. It's an entire fucking region that's like half of the center of Romania. Like, they keep referring to it like it's a town. It's not a town.
Is it referred to as a town in Bram Stoker's Dracula? Did he start that trend?
I thought it was just referred to as a region. Like it's like saying the Appalachias or something. Like it's
I know.
Downtown Appalachia. It makes no fucking sense.
No, it doesn't. You're right.
Anyway, they're approaching a place called Ye Olde Boot Inn.
Oh.
And they come in and say, hey, excuse us, we're interested in 2 rooms for the night, sir. And if you've seen any kind of Frankenstein movies from Universal, you've seen these people. They're wearing the little German get-up, and they're the innkeeper and the bar wench. But they're wearing the most bananas clothes. Like normally it's like, forest green and white, maybe some brown, but they look like HR Puffin stuff, like Sid and Marty Krofft acid people.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it is,
greens and
it is 1974, so, maybe the colorist is trying to update a little bit.
I don't think they're in Transylvania. I think they're in Psilocybin, Slovakia.
The altered states of Drugachusetts. Yeah.
So, they say, hey, come on in. There's many rooms because we rarely have visitors, which is a trope from Bram Stoker's thing, right? There's the inn, and can I get a room? Like, yeah, but nobody ever comes through this town. It's too scary.
Yeah. And then, on the next page, we meet a real creep named Scratcher, who, again, I just heard having a really thick Cockney accent because why not? It's Romania. So everyone's going to have a Cockney accent for some reason. And this guy, Scratcher, he starts harassing Topaz, calling her a lovely birdie, and let's get a move on to my boat. And so Jack notices this and is like, Topaz? And she quickly tells him, like, I can handle myself. And Jack pays no attention to this. Like a typical 70s hunk of man meat. He says, no need, little lady, and socks old Scratcher right in the kisser. Again, we know how powerful Topaz is. She would have no problem, like, defusing this situation. Just putting a little mind mojo on that guy, and he's fine. But no, Jack has to be the man.
Like, she could literally just make that guy, like, Jedi stuff. Like, make him go put his head in the fireplace. If she wanted to. Yeah,
if she wanted to. She absolutely could do that. But no. Yeah, and so he hits Scratcher, and he says, Scratcher falls to the ground and says, you landed a good one, punk. Too good. But Scratcher don't like to get himself hit. Not without getting a bit of revenge. Understand, punk? And so, Jack says, come on, Topaz, the air around here is starting to stink of cheap booze and even cheaper creeps. So, yeah, they head up to their two separate rooms, which this is where I think that kind of all falls apart.
Yeah, he's showing off that he has money, but this is not the way to do it.
No, this isn't. They go up to their two rooms. Jack tells her to lock her door tight because this is the night of the full moon. So he's, again, really downplaying the powers that Topaz has. She has to remind him. She reminds him, I controlled the beast before, and I can do it again. But I guess this is kind of maybe laying out that backstory for readers of Tomb of Dracula.
Yeah, I cut him some slack there.
Yeah, that's what I did too. I said they may not have read, the last couple issues of Werewolf by Night, so I get it. Last panel there, she's like, there is no reason to worry, Jack. I controlled the beast before. I can do it again if I must. But you must trust me. You must.
So the Scratcher guy, I was laughing about him as well, and then I realized, he's got a turtleneck on and a captain's hat. So he's like a merchant marine sailor guy. So that's fair enough. And he says, let's get back to my boat, birdie. So he's like, let's go for a tumble back in my ship. But if you look at a map of Romania, I did. The nearest water is about 4 hours and 48 minutes away from where Transylvania is typically centered. So that's a long way for a tumble with a gin-soaked, dirty, filthy piece of shit.
Maybe he's talking about some rickety rowboat he has on the nearest tiny river.
Yeah. Anyway, I like seeing him get punched. I'm sure that was the point.
Yeah.
So then we cut to, it says, night in Transylvania is quiet, almost soundless, except for the soft rhythmic beating of leathery wings which soar through the night in search of blood. But, and then we cut back to the end again, which I thought was kind of a weird interlude, one panel.
It is.
So Scratcher's there, and he's got a knife, and he's like, just fuming about this kid punching him in the face, and he's like, you know what, fuck it. He's drunk, and he just says, I'm going up the stairs. He climbs up the stairs in the inn, and he goes in, and he easily unlocks this doorway with his knife, his switchblade, and we get this panel at the bottom, which is ridiculous. The sight that he sees, he opens the door and you see him like going, and the panel, you see what he sees, which is a werewolf, like charging at him like, you mad bro.
Yeah.
And Topaz is trying to hold him back. And the poor guy's in the foreground holding like the switchblade, just like, ah. And, the text is saying like, in the past, you've seen pink elephants, dancing frogs, and even slobbering sea worms while intoxicated. but the sight which greets you in this dimly lit room shakes the drunken stupor from your eyes, and then lets you scream as your very life fade from your eyes. First night.
It's a great panel. It really is. I mean, the beast's face is almost like screwed up in terror. Like it's really bizarre.
It was hard for me not to go like to a 12-year-old kind of thing. Like, what were they doing before he walked in? I mean, she has her clothes on. I know it's all innocent, but you know, she can do all kinds of weird stuff with that. She can control him, Jacob.
Yeah, no, I know. It can get really weird really fast.
Like they're in flagrante delicto.
Yeah. We'll try to keep it innocent. But I also thought it was weird when Topaz is saying, "Mother in heaven, no." And I just thought that was a little weird for her to say that. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you think of the way that the Beast is handled art-wise here from Colan and Palmer?
I think it's okay. I think it's pretty good. I don't think they ever quite get it perfect. I think maybe if those two had a few more issues, I can see them really refining it. I think that's really evident in the kind of one transformation panel we have in a few pages. And I think it's more than serviceable. It's good, but yeah, I don't think they have a full handle on it yet.
Yeah, I agree. It never. They didn't knock my socks off here, but there was definitely some. It was up and down as well, panel to panel. But this one was like one of my least favorites, actually.
Yeah, I agree. On the next page, Scratcher kind of gets his wits about him again, grabs Topaz, saying, "Stay back, or the girl gets stuck." And she tries to stop Jack from attacking, saying, "Don't attack, Jack. I can save my." But then, of course, the Beast instantly attacks. The second panel is another one of my now favorite red background action panels, where the Beast slams into the creep, and they both crash through the banister, falling down into the main room. Which I think that middle panel is so cool. I love the perspective of it. I love how it's kind of lit and drawn. I think that middle panel is really, really great. And so they fall down, and on that last panel there, Scratcher gets in one good kick and kind of knocks the Beast back.
I have issues with this.
Let's see.
Okay, so he's a werewolf charging a guy with the element of surprise. He slams into him, so he has the momentum. They go through a banister, down an entire floor, all of his weight, right? Slams on top of this guy. How does that guy get the upper hand and kick him in the face? And I don't understand.
I don't understand too, because in the in the text in that bottom panel on the left, it says tables splinter and bones crack. He'd be pretty fucked up, but I don't know. Maybe the whole adrenaline, and he's instantly shock sobered up enough, so maybe he gets in one lucky kick, which is kind of what the narration on that last panel says too. But be it because of Jack's wolfish mind or the sailor's lucky chance kick, it is the werewolf who falls first.
Oh, it was a chance roll.
No, but I'm yeah. No, I'm with you though. It's very unlikely.
The other thing I thought was bizarre was in that panel you're talking about, that with the tackling kind of one, it says, "But the Beast, the thing that is Jack Russell, does not move off. It does not step aside. Rather, it leaps and with talons drawn, attacks." Talons drawn?
Yeah, I know.
He doesn't have retractable talons.
No, he does not.
Okay. That bothered me as well.
No, and it should. I mean, I think we're seeing the difference between Wolfman's style on Tomb of Dracula and on Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, he has distinctly different voices for sure.
Yeah, he really does.
So yeah, at this point, Scratcher is bolting for the front door of the inn, and the Beast jumps up, and he leaps out behind him, and they're out in the street, and the Beast jumps on his back, and just grabs him by the back of the head, and slams it in the cobblestone streets in a very violent panel that also has a great red background and a great depiction of the Beast in a very lupine animal simian kind of form. That's another one that's like Jack's not home right now kind of ones that I love, where he's not, it's not even evocative of a man almost at that point. And then he is on top of Scratcher, and he's just doing the swipe left, right, like in A Christmas Story when the kid's beating up Scott Farkas or whatever his name is, like he's just going bananas on him. And, it says with more force, with more hatred, he's striking twice and twice more. His razor sharp talons slash at the wriggling, terrified sailor, and then the screaming and the writhing stops forever. So we got some deadly stakes here. He just killed this dude.
Yeah,
and
no, shit gets really real.
Yeah, and then so Topaz comes up and taps him on the shoulder, and says, "You didn't have to kill him, Jack. I would have stopped him without pain, without violence. And now, because for one moment you were a mindless, seething beast, a precious life has been stilled." And I appreciate her philosophical position here, but if you're going to make the precious life argument, Scratcher Williams, whatever his name is not the guy to do it. The attempted rapist, B&E, whatever this guy is on a precious life. Sorry.
No, I fully agree. Topaz says to the beast, there must be a mind, your mind, hiding somewhere inside there, Jack. And you could have stopped the attack if you wanted to. We must find that intelligence before you kill again. And yeah, I thought her next move was kind of weird.
Yeah.
She says, but now come with me. The authorities must be notified before we can do anything else. I'm just like, again, this rummy sailor is not really worth, but we've already seen that it's established that Topaz values all life.
Yep.
She's refused, I'm sure on many occasions when Taboo tried to force her to kill somebody, and she always refused. But yeah, this is a little much.
That's funny. But what's even funnier is the picture of them walking. She has her arm wrapped around him, and she's like, "We're going to the police to report this." And he's a werewolf, and they're walking down the street. That's what made me go, "Wait, the fuck?"
Yeah, the illustration's so funny. They're just walking arm in arm, just going on a
date.
Yeah, they're on a date. But yeah, that date is immediately interrupted by Dracula, who appears and tries to attack Topaz. He says, "I thirst, and it shall be your blood which quenches my thirst this night." But, we know Topaz is no damsel in distress, really. And Dracula says, "You don't scream. How refreshing. Other humans beg as my shadow falls on theirs. Others cringe, fall back in fright, or whimper at my very presence. Yet in your eyes there is no fear, no fright. Your eyes, they... Wait, what are you doing to me? I feel your eyes probing into mine, tearing into my brain. Stop. Dracula commands that you stop." So yeah, I did love this kind of turn that he takes. He's going off on a normal, Dracula villain speech, and then he's like, what? Well,
plus we've had, so many issues of him plopping down in the moors on some barmaid walking home through the fog after her shift, and he just, materializes and then puts the whammy on her and then kills her. That's happened countless times in this book, so it's hilarious to see it happening to him.
I love that it genuinely freaks him out.
Yeah, I know.
Which I think also reminds us how powerful Topaz is.
Yeah.
And so this basically distracts him for a moment that gives the beast time to regroup and attack. Says the beast, the werewolf, sensing another evil, another conflict, another enemy, attacks once more.
As the beast has jumped onto Dracula, Dracula turns around and flips him right off and says, "At least I can destroy this beast of yours. Back, wretched one, and feel the wrath of Dracula, lord of evil and master of all who tread the darkling domain." That's some prime Dracula talk right there.
I know.
Again, he's completely freaked out by this whole whammy thing, and it's freaked him out. And so he just turns back into a bat and flees. There's this odd kind of narration here where it's saying, everyone in the province, they all pray and they have their windows closed with ropes bound with garlic, and they have their crucifixes up to protect themselves. And then it says, there are those who do not pray for salvation. And then we see this woman just standing in an alleyway looking kind of freaked out. And then it says, and samely, there are those who must die. And Dracula just materializes next to her and murders her.
Yeah.
Like he does.
Yeah, like he does. And yeah, I can see, I like Tomb of Dracula. I do. I'm not a super fan. I feel like I get my fill after reading 5 or 6 issues at a time. Then I'm like, no, I've gotten all that I need for now.
Yeah, I don't plow through it like I do a lot of other titles. When I decide to dive back in, I need to sprinkle it through with other things. Yeah,
I'm not saying that I don't see how it's legendary. I absolutely see how it's legendary. I see how it's great. I see why people like it. I just can't take, like you said, I can't do giant chunks of it. I need to parse it out.
Yep. I'm with you.
So after this, Jack and Topaz arrive at Rusoff Manor.
This is it, Topaz. Rusoff Manor.
After which Jack says, brings back those old Universal movies, doesn't it? This is the second reference we've had to Universal movies, which I love. I think that's great.
Self-aware.
Yeah. So Jack starts kind of rummaging through old books, trying to find any clues about his family, and then starts to tell Topaz about his father. And we kind of, flash back a little bit. He starts to tell Topaz how his father was a gentleman, killed by villagers for being a werewolf.
Among these old books, we're bound to find some of the answers. God knows, maybe all.
Jack, come here. I think I've found it.
Yes. This is exactly what I've been searching for, Topaz. Here, read this. How my great-great-great-grandfather became the werewolf. It began in 1795. That's a long time ago.
And I do love the kind of specific wavy borders on the flashback panels on this page. Mm-hmm. And also the slightly different coloring that's done as well. I think it's really effective.
Yeah, I do too. And I like that we get to see Gene Colan redraw a Plug panel from Marvel Spotlight #2. Because when Jack's mom was on her deathbed and telling him about the curse and the whole thing, we see that same panel of Gregory Rusoff lifting Jacob, and saying, "You're a big lad, eh? Big like your father, bright like your mother." I think that's the exact same wording, too.
Ah, Jacob, you're a big lad, eh? Big like your father, bright like your mother.
Yeah, it's kind of, I always like when I see actual communication. Where I'm like, oh no, he actually looked at some Werewolf by Night issues, obviously, and had even referenced a panel. I like that attention to detail.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, like you were saying on the other page on that bottom left panel, the beast's face, or which is the elder Rusoff,
Baron,
Baron Rusoff as a werewolf. His face is really cool. It's very inhuman.
Mm-hmm. Colan and Palmer are up and down for me the way they draw the beast, but that's that approach I really dig. I get into it. So yeah, they're looking around through these libraries, trying to find some kind of information that could be useful to Jack about his curse. And Topaz finds this leather-bound diary that has a big strap of steel across it and a padlock. And, Jack's saying, well, I can probably, I want to read this for sure. I can probably just break this thing open. And he finds this little leather tassel in it that's like a bookmark, and he yanks on it, and a secret passageway opens in a bookshelf. This is one of those things I'm a total sucker for. Anytime this cliche hackneyed device happens, I'm giddy. And I honestly consider myself as an adult pretty much a failure because I don't have a house that has a secret, a grandfather clock doorway or a bookcase doorway. That's like my one aspiration in life, and I haven't achieved that in middle-aged. So,
see, I thought this page was such a Matt's wet dream page because not only is it a diary with like a steel band around, but it has like a little magic strip that you pull that opens the door. Like that's a lot of boxes checked for you.
Oh God, yes. So they go through this passageway, and he realizes this is something his father had, and his mom had told him that his father would go off into these places and lock himself up, when he was turning into a werewolf or whatever. And so he's going through, and then he says, he looks surprised and shocked, and he says, "There through the fog and the mist, that's what my father was doing. Look." That's a great panel of them beholding something that we don't see yet.
Yeah, it's really cool. And then, man, this next page is definitely one of my favorite pages of the issue.
Yeah.
Jack and Topaz looking through this kind of collapsed stone kind of opening, and it's looking right at Castle Dracula. So Jack says, I've seen pictures of that before, Topaz. It's Castle Dracula. And for some reason, my father was observing it, which means, Topaz, I'm going inside to explore it. And I love that picture of them. I love the cool telescope that his dad was obviously using. I'm really loving Topaz and her boots. Her boots look really badass in that panel as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, what would you call the effect that's kind of used on Castle Dracula there?
Oh, so they're creating the illusion of distance by I don't know how to describe that. It's like half. I don't know. Actually, it looks like it's half opacity on the strokes of the castle. So there's like line work on the inking and the pencils and stuff, but it's all soft, like it's through mist or fog to kind of create distance between them in the foreground and that in the background.
No, that's a really good description of it. I know I can't think of the actual name of whatever process is being used there, but yeah, that's a great description of it. It's really cool. It's really effective.
I mean, it's not like Zipatone, but it's like something kind of like that.
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind. I'm like, oh, it's Zipatone. I'm like, no, it's not. It's similar, but it's not.
Yeah, and so again, my wet dream continues because this is in the Baron's castle. There's a secret passage that goes to a natural cave / observatory that looks out on Castle Dracula.
Yeah, it could not get any cooler.
That's so fucking rad. Oh my god! And this opened a whole can of worms, by the way. Like, okay, so Gregory Rusoff was watching Castle Dracula, so that's neat. What the hell was he looking for? And that made me think about, like, wait a minute, but he wasn't the first owner. So it wasn't like he built this with a mission in mind to find out something about Dracula, because Taboo found the Darkhold in that castle, performed the ritual on his son that was interrupted by the villagers and the Baron, and then he was chased off and the Baron just stayed with the Darkhold. It's exciting.
Yeah. Oh, it is exciting.
Going on.
No, I love it. I really thought that was a really cool part of the story.
Yeah, good mystery.
Yeah, so I love the simple layout of this page, and there's a longer panel at the bottom, kind of cuts to inside the castle where Dracula has arrived. The last little bit of narration there is, for it is also here that he left his birthright of humanity behind and donned the cloak of the undead.
And that's a cool, such an abstract panel. Like, it reminded me a lot of, like, I don't know, something I would see from like Toth in like House of Mystery or something like that. Like the just all the blacks that would be like in those horror books. Mm-hmm. Like, all it is like a stone. What is that? I mean, it's like a weird shot of the stone architecture inside of Castle Dracula, and like the moonlight or something shining on it, and the silhouette of Dracula. It's just abstract and strange and really cool.
Yeah, it's a really weird angle.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing that you can say to be like, oh yeah, that is Dracula, is you see the giant collar.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is nice in this instance because it helps us kind of identify what angle we're looking at. But it's a really cool panel.
Yeah, I love it. It's strange. So yeah, we are in Castle Dracula now, and Dracula's talking to himself, which he is wont to do, and he's got all these coffins, and he's putting his native land's earth, which, if you're familiar with a lot of the myths of vampirism, they need to rest in their native soil. So he has to transport a bunch of the soil back to England because the vampire hunters of the title have hunted down and destroyed most of his other ones. Yeah, I can't remember why he wants to go back so bad. I think he just wants revenge on them for actually messing with his plans. I can't remember what his original plan was. Because in the novel and most adaptations of the book, Dracula sees Jonathan Harker's fiancée, Mina, and she reminds him of his love from centuries before when he was alive, and so he fixates on her, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't actually why he was going in the first place, because Jonathan Harker was brokering a deal for his employer. he was already there to sell this land and do this business deal with him before he saw Mina. Why was Dracula going to England in the first place? Just world domination?
Yeah, let's just go with that.
Okay.
He's a corny supervillain in this, so let's
Okay.
let's focus on the world domination.
Yeah, so Dracula's saying, when I go back to England this time, I'm not going to be, living beneath a cemetery like some kind of skanky vampire. I'm a count. I'm a prince, goddammit, and I'm going to have dignity. And so he continues ranting about his vengeance, and any human who wants to battle with him, he'll destroy their lives and weep for their souls and blah, blah, blah. And then we cut back to Ye Old Boot Inn. And it says, once there were legends of Dracula's rage, for it was said that on the nights he screamed at the heavens, his voice could be heard the world over, roaring with the crackling shards of lightning and thunder. And then we see inside the inn a drunken guy and the innkeeper and the bar wench again. And they're kind of looking horrified off in the distance as they hear something. And it says, and wherever that mocking howl is heard, the hearts and souls of humans would freeze for a chilling moment in the night's cold, cruel wind. That was a new one to me, that when Dracula's angry, the whole world gets scared for a second. Or whatever that means.
His laughter inside the castle suddenly becomes the wind, and everyone on Earth can hear it.
That's what that's saying? Okay.
I guess. I know. Yeah, Wolfman lost me there a little bit. But
yeah, he reached, though, by God.
Yeah. So on the next page, Dracula is still planning now to leave for London to reclaim that birthright again. And he spies Jack and Topaz, who are coming towards the castle. He says, the girl interested me. Something in her eyes, some power she possessed that I wish to study. So he wants to see how she was able to stop him from killing her. And those bottom panels here are really cool. So in that first one, Dracula is leaping off a parapet, then transforming into a bat in that second panel, and then swooping down on Jack and Topaz in the third. And I love the narration in that third panel. His wings are silent, but it is the low, shrill hissing from his lips which alerts Jack Russell and the girl named Topaz. Jack says, Topaz, run! It's Dracula attacking!
I do like vampires are able to shapeshift and take the form of a bat and a wolf and mist and whatever. But in Tomb of Dracula, Dracula utilizes this mid form between his human form and bat that is really freaky looking.
It's terrifying.
Like it's like half his face, but it's like mid transformation. So it's like 4 times the size of a bat, and it's terrifying.
It really is.
Yeah, super cool. Great art on there. And we get to see, before he does that move, one of the ways that Colan draws him frequently is the whites of his eyes are blacks and his irises are blood red, which is a totally creepy. It's kind of corny, but it's totally effective at the same time. I always like that look. He snatched Topaz up, and Jack's screaming. He's flying off towards Castle Dracula with her, and Jack screams to her, I'll follow, Topaz. I'll search throughout Castle Dracula until I find you. That I swear, Topaz. That I swear! And then we get our one transformation panel, which I love. So it's got Jack kind of screaming, like wearing a trench coat or whatever, and it's a series of like phases. So it's just the eyes you follow down throughout the panel as they change, so that the eyebrows kind of get thicker and closer together and scowling, and then the brows go into full fur and the eyes become more slanted, and then at the bottom he's in full werewolf form. It says 1 hour, Jack Russell scales the peak to Castle Dracula, but as he reaches the highest plateau, he fails to see a silver-specked orb rise into an indigo sky, an orb which bathes him in the light of the full moon. Then the transformation happens, second night. And if you folks have been listening, you know that we have a drinking game here, and whenever Jack is surprised by the orb, the silvern orb in the indigo sky, we have a drink, so I'm going to finish my Buffalo Trace. So what do you think of that transformation?
I liked it. I think it's really cool.
I think it's one of my favorite parts of this issue, actually.
Yeah, it's not really anything that we've seen before. I liked it because it was a different take on it. I think Plug's transformation panels are maybe a bit more inventive and radical, but this one is solid.
Yeah, it's rock solid, and it needs to go in the feed for sure. So we cut to inside the castle, and Topaz is standing there, and she says, there's nothing I can do for you, Dracula. I can't even explain how my powers work. He's like, you knew what I was about to ask. Interesting. And then he says, then you also know what I shall do with you, should you fail to do as I command. And he starts putting the whammy on her, right? And it says Dracula waits for the girl's reply, but all he hears is silence, and then the harsh, guttural growling of the werewolf. And the beast has climbed and jumped into the castle. He says, what? Your beast attacks here in my castle? How he came here is of no interest to me, but it is here that he shall finally perish. So this is the big kind of showdown that we've been promised since the cover, more or less.
Yeah, and I like how it's handled. They're these next 2 pages, and they're formatted the same. The layout is the same. This first one is 3 long panels of the Beast and Dracula battling with their tall shadows behind them. It's really, really cool looking. I'll read that last bit of narration there. It says, it ignores the orders of this demon who can control such things as rats and bats and even wolves. For somehow, for some reason, Dracula's orders affect it not. For the werewolf bites its ivory fangs deeper and deeper into Dracula's neck, which I thought was pretty intense.
Yes, I love this. So it's essentially a 2-page spread of 2 pages of 3 columns, like you're saying. They're all vertical, right? So, I don't know how it's reproduced digitally, but the inks in this one are super, super thick and heavy. Are they that way in the, like, dramatically different than the rest of the book?
Yeah, they absolutely are.
Like almost like Sharpie. I mean, it's a really cool effect. Okay. So yeah, the page you just described, I mean, they're grappling with each other, and the beast is not being controlled by the vampire's power, which is kind of strange because he can control animals and stuff like that. But so he's slashing at him, and then he just starts chomping on Dracula's neck, which I fucking loved. It says he's even drawing the vampire's precious life fluid and spilling it to the castle's floor. So it's getting pretty burly here. But then Dracula gets the upper hand, throws the beast into a castle wall, and then he jumps on top of the beast and gets the upper hand.
Yeah, it's almost like, Dracula's about to finish the beast off, start to bite him. But Topaz shows up and confronts Dracula, saying, stay away from him, Dracula. I don't want to use my powers. But if you try to harm him, I promise you I will. So Dracula responds, pretty normal for him. He says, you threatened Dracula, woman? Do you truly realize the folly of your attempt? But no matter, for you'll not have time to do anything, not while you're sprawled unconscious at my feet. And he just backhands her. And then that final panel is so fucking cool. It's from the beast's perspective, and his hands are kind of clutching at Dracula, and Dracula's above him saying, for I have other plans for you, girl. But for now, Dracula thirsts, and he thirsts the blood of the werewolf. And then we have a little box at the bottom there saying, continued in Werewolf by Night 15, where we learn the origin of the werewolf and the conclusion of the most senses-shattering battle of them all, snowbound in hell.
Oh, I read that as because they broke the word. So I thought it said senses shattering.
I know, it's so bad.
That panel at the end, like you said, is so great, where we are the werewolf. And like you said, we're clutching at Dracula, and his long, gross, long-nailed, coke-nailed hands are reaching out towards us. It's almost like 3D. It's so great.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite panel of the whole issue.
It's in my top 5 for sure, yeah. And it's got that cool sunburst, Ramita kind of explosive thing behind him, too. It's so powerful. But my issue is, for fuck's sake, people stop hitting Topaz.
Yeah,
she is a lovely lady.
Yeah, she's been hit like three issues in a row.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've always had like a little crush on Topaz since I was a kid. I don't know. But also in this issue, for like the second half, she's dressed like Gwen Stacy. So Gwen Stacy. Like pink turtleneck, blue skirt, those cool leather boots like you're talking about that are like halfway up to her knee, and then that like London fog jacket,
trench coat kind of.
Yeah, trench coat. Thank you. Like, and if she had a black headband on, it would be fucking Gwen Stacy.
I know. No, I agree. I think Topaz is one of my favorite female characters at Marvel right now. She's so cool.
Yeah, and they've just begun with her too, and yeah, I love her. I loved her from the get-go. She's a cool character, and I love how powerful she is.
Yeah, she's really powerful and great. She's still kind of treated a little bit like a damsel in distress, which is disappointing. But can you imagine if Stan Lee was writing this?
No.
Oh boy.
Because I think, is there any reason to think that she's not like Jean Grey level, like powerful mental powers? I mean,
no, she absolutely is.
It's like no one just let her spread her wings yet and like actually fully do anything. Like, what if she got mad and dropped her no killing thing? She would.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it would be super dangerous.
Yeah,
she would. Which makes her all the more cool.
Exactly. So, what'd you think?
I liked this issue. It was a nice change. Gene Colan's art is a big departure from Plug's, but Colan's style is really, I think, perfectly suited to Dracula. I think that's probably an inarguable fact. Like, people really love his take on Dracula, and I think there's a good reason for that. I liked it. I liked the story. Oddly enough, it was weird having like an omniscient narrator when we're so used to Jack's voice narrating the events in the future. But I got used to it. Did you find that jarring as well?
Definitely. Yep. I'm not the biggest fan of the narrative voice of this title in the first place, but to come from where we've, like you said, had Jack be our narrator the entire time, it was very jarring for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think the narrative voice in Tomb of Dracula is probably my least favorite thing about the book.
Agreed.
But like I said, this is kind of accepted as the golden era of Tomb of Dracula, and Wolfman and Colan are working really perfectly together at this point. So yeah, it was good. I still like Werewolf by Night as a book better. I'm really excited that we get the second part of the story back in our main book.
Yeah. And I feel like we're selling Tomb of Dracula short, maybe, to anybody who hasn't experienced the book. Like, we keep saying we love it and it's amazing and it's a classic, but we kind of have issues with it. But I mean, it is a deserved classic. I mean, it's amazing. And so I guess I'm not taking shots at it. I'm just saying, like, here's what doesn't work for me in it. But I would never dispute that it's one of the best titles of the 70s. Definitely one of the best horror title.
Yeah, that's a indisputable fact. Like, yeah, we're not knocking the book at all, but there are shortcomings that are pretty evident, especially compared to what we're used to talking about every week. Yeah.
And it's, like I said, interesting that it's Wolfman that writes both books, so he can just put these different hats on and have a completely different approach to storytelling between two titles, which is quite a gift.
Yeah, it really is. And man, they're two different hats. They're very different books.
Yeah. One's a really elaborate hat with like a bunch of feathers and some metal bands and some turquoise and stuff on it. It's kind of like a Mad Hatter hat, and I want to hit it. But the other hat's like a really cool trucker hat. It says, "Who farted?"
It's a perfect comparison.
It's the same shit, different day. No, it says, if you're going to be a turd, go lay in the yard.
Yeah.
That's what the Werewolf by Night hat says.
Classic.
Okay, so we got that out of the way. I dug it. I love some of the art. It was great to see these two people together. Honestly, I like seeing the werewolf chomp on Dracula's neck a bit. And I like seeing him slash Dracula a little. I like Dracula to get hurt because he is an obnoxious character a lot of times. So, if nothing else, it was cool to see Dracula get his ass handed to him a little bit, even though not really.
Not really, but it was satisfying.
It is. So, yeah, we'll be back next week with Werewolf by Night number 15. But we have a little bit of multimedia to talk about. Jacob and I both watched the 1985 film. Is that right?
I think so.
Silver Bullet, which was based on the Stephen King novella Cycle of the Werewolf, which had gorgeous illustrations by Bernie Wrightson. Have you read that?
I haven't read it, but I did look online and looked at some of the illustrations. And yeah, I mean, they're as beautiful as you would assume they would be.
Yeah.
Drawn by Bernie Wrightson.
If you folks want to check it out and you're on a budget, you can see it on Crackle for free with commercials. It's also on Amazon Prime for free with no commercials, but you can check it out either way there if you want to check it out before we talk about it right now. But we're going to do a spoiler-free kind of just talk about it because we didn't touch base about what we thought. So I saw this, I think, around when it first came out. So this was my first rewatch in 30 plus years.
Damn.
And yeah, so if you folks haven't seen it, it stars Corey Haim as the main character, who's a young boy who is wheelchair bound. And Gary Busey plays his Uncle Red. Is it Red? Did I make that up?
Oh, now I can't remember what his name is.
I feel like I just pulled that out of my ass. And I was like, is that even right?
It sounds right.
Anyway, he's his uncle. And it stars Everett McGill from Dune and Twin Peaks and People Under the Stairs. And am I forgetting anyone?
Was it
Lawrence Tierney?
Oh, yeah, Lawrence Tierney's a bartender.
Bartender.
He's
Lawrence
awesome.
Tierney's the old man from Reservoir Dogs, if you don't know who that is.
And then Terry O'Quinn.
Oh, Terry O'Quinn.
Yeah.
The guy from Lost, most famously from Lost, I think. He plays a sheriff here.
He's in those Stepfather movies too, right?
He was in the Stepfather films, yeah.
Gary Busey looked really young in this, but man, Terry O'Quinn looked really young. He looked very fresh-faced as the sheriff.
What can we say about this without...
Well, I'm going to say who else stars in it, and I actually got my wife, who is not a horror movie fan, I actually got my wife to watch this with me because Corey Haim's sister is played by Megan Follows, who was Anne in the Anne of Green Gables movies and that whole series.
Whoa.
And so I'm like, I have this werewolf movie to watch. She's like, oh, fine, I'll go in the other room. I'm like, it's got Anne from Anne of Green Gables. And so she's like, all right, I'll watch it. And so, yeah, so I got her to watch that with me, which was pretty awesome.
I forgot I was going to tell you that it's probably safe for her to watch because it's not really violent.
No, it's cartoony violent. I mean, it's violent for sure.
There's a violent scene in the opening, but I don't remember much violence beyond that.
No, not too much.
It's all implied.
Yeah. I mean, it's 80s horror movie violent.
Yeah. So I don't remember actually who directed this, but I did find out. Do you know who directed it?
This guy named Dan Attias.
Dan
Attias?
Attias? I think it's Attias.
Yeah.
And he mostly did television for almost his whole career, right?
Yeah, I think this is his only feature, really.
So I found out for the first time, this is news to me, that all of the film except for the werewolf sequences was directed by Don Coscarelli, the guy who did the Phantasm films and Bubba Hotep.
Really?
And John Dies at the End. I'm a huge Don Coscarelli fan. I was surprised that he was involved. So he directed it. I think Dino De Laurentiis produced this. And there was some infighting between the creature creator, Dino De Laurentiis, and someone else, another producer, but they didn't like the werewolf. And it's the werewolf that ends up in the film. And so they stood their ground, and I think Dino ended up relenting, but the film got halted for weeks or even maybe months while they're trying to figure out what the monster would be, how it would look. And I think Don Coscarelli just said, I can't deal with this. This is bullshit. This is not professional. Why are you discussing this halfway through a production? So he walked, but he directed everything except for the monster sequences.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. And I was also shocked to find that out just because it's not particularly, I don't know, didn't smack of his, not that he's the most stylized director or anything, but I didn't see his fingerprints on it or anything anywhere.
So then he wouldn't have directed that awesome dream sequence that has So Everett McGill is, I don't know. I mean, you find out he's the werewolf like a third of the way through the movie. I don't know if it's necessarily a spoiler. Like, you find out pretty soon. But he's this preacher, and he's having this dream that he's, preaching to his congregation. And then everyone in the fucking church starts turning into a werewolf. Like, a lot. Like, there's a lot of different, transformations going on, a lot of actors in full makeup. Like, that looked like a really intense scene to shoot.
Yeah, I don't think he directed that, but that was a standout moment in the whole feature to me. And I think I read a bunch of reviews after I watched it, and a bunch of directors kind of said, too bad that director or that sequence's tone and approach was not the entire film, because I would have been down for that. It was not particularly liked among most critics. So
interesting. Even though I think it's really a perfect role for Gary Busey to play, like the really crazy uncle, like that really cool uncle that you love, but is also totally insane.
An alcoholic.
Yep. But he builds Corey Haim's character like this, who is in a wheelchair. He builds him like this kick-ass, like souped up motorized fucking wheelchair that is also called the Silver Bullet.
Yeah. So yeah, we when we first meet the Corey Haim character, he has a motorized wheelchair that his uncle had made him, but he gets upgraded halfway through the film to the Silver Bullet, and this thing can go like 35, 40 miles per hour. So it actually becomes a plot device at some points. It's a strange little film. I liked it. It's like, it's that I'm not the biggest Stephen King fan for one thing. I like some of his stories and his storytelling, particularly his short stories, but I really don't like his actual writing, and I hate his dialogue passionately. So, I have a lot of issues with his stuff, but this one I liked because this is essentially a short story. It's like 100 pages with, I said, like 20 rights and illustrations, like paintings. So I think the book's actually better, but this was a good kind of that Stephen King Stand By Me kind of like that vibe, that tone, that nostalgic looking back at this coming of age where this horrible, strange thing happened. He does that really well. And I think this is a decent example of it.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked that a lot of it was from the two kids' point of view. And I think that is what you're right. That's what Stephen King does really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dreamcatcher. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. That's like what he does not well, which is a bunch of grown men in a really intense, scary situation. And they're all talking and he's trying to make everybody sound cool. I don't like when Stephen King tries to make people sound cool. You got to see Dreamcatcher, man. It is a jaw-droppingly bad film. Renee and I watched that, and we're looking at each other like, is this real? Is this happening right now? Jason Lee is saying that to Morgan Freeman? What the hell's going on? And it's just...
But I've never seen it.
Dude, you got to see it. It's like Stephen King's The Thing.
Oh,
like
boy. Okay.
Aliens, but, they take over people's bodies, but it's Stephen King, and it's got to one-up everything, so they, like, go in and out of like the butthole, and they're like giant cockroaches. It's ridiculous. You got to see it.
You're really selling this.
It's got Damian Lewis. Do you like him?
All right. Okay. I'm in.
It's worth watching in a bad way.
So have you been reading anything good?
Yeah, I guess. I started reading my bind of Death Rattle, Volume 2. Did you ever read Death Rattle?
No.
From Kitchen Sink, Dennis Kitchen, that underground comics guy. So I guess in the early 70s, there was a handful of issues of this anthology book called Death Rattle. And then in the mid 80s, they started up again. And I collected all like 18 issues of that. And man, it's got a little bit of everybody in there. Charles Burns. I'm drawing a blank right now. It's mostly sci-fi and horror. So it's kind of like this underground comics, but unhinged homage to like EC, like Weird Science and stuff like that. But it's got a horror kind of bent to it. But I've just kind of been reading a few. Oh, so I guess it's probably most well known for being where Xenozoic. I forgot how you say it. Xenozoic. Wow, Xenozoic Tales. You ever read Xenozoic Tales?
No.
They made a comic book and a video game out of it called Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. So it's about like this future, and there's people kind of in a post-apocalyptic kind of Mad Max thing, but they all have like these cool old 50s cars and a bunch of weapons, and they're fighting like dinosaurs, and it's all gorgeous, gorgeous art, like Rocketeer kind of art.
That's cool.
So it's all kind of eye candy, but that came from a couple Death Rattle stories. A couple of them were set in that world, and then it spun off and became its own title for a while. Highly recommend that. But yeah, it's cool. You know, it's like anything else. I mean, it's an anthology, so it's hit or miss, but it's mostly hit. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
What about you?
Well, I started Harrow County that you got me for Christmas.
Oh, good.
I'm a couple issues in on that, and man, that's great. What a beautiful book.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's so good. And I love the oversized library edition you got. It's so good.
Yeah. I'm glad you're digging it. What else? Oh, I checked out virtually the first volume of the Dune graphic novel.
Yeah, and?
I think it's in anticipation of the movie. I'm not sure. It's newish. I feel like between reading the novel Dune 3 or 4 times and seeing Lynch's Dune like 12 times, that it's pretty obvious that this is just lifting stuff right, just the way that Lynch did, like right out of the book. Like I can start reading a word balloon and finish it, like close my eyes and just finish it.
Yeah.
It's honestly, outside of just reinventing the character design on most people, it looks like someone just basically drew the movie / book. I mean, it's not remarkable so far. They were trying to go for kind of a Mobius kind of approach to it, but it just doesn't have that grandeur and that kind of skill and scope. So I'm only like 40 pages in. It's 180 pages. I think there's going to be 3 of them.
Wow.
I don't think I'll be going past this.
So do you think they're drawing anything from the Jodorowsky's Dune?
I never saw that documentary.
Seriously?
So, yeah.
Oh, you got to see it. It's so
I've seen
good.
bits of it, but I've just never seen the whole thing.
I love it.
That's hard to say. I'm wondering. I wish I could see more of Villeneuve's designs, because I'm wondering if it was just kind of an unofficial adaptation, or like, to beat the band kind of adaptation. Because the main character doesn't look like Chalamet. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Chalamet. Mm-hmm. He doesn't look like him that much. He almost looks more like Kyle MacLachlan, to be honest. He's like a mix of the two. Like, he's just kind of generic, Baron Harkonnen is just a fat guy. Yeah. So is this anything else?
Yeah, I was trying to think. I'm still thinking.
Episode of 2021. This has got to be good.
Yeah.
We're setting the tone for the rest of the year.
Oof. Yeah, trying to think of anything else. I was curious. We talked about it a little bit, but a friend of the show's Tim Tucker, who's based in the UK, was kind of put to us the question. We talk a lot about Mike Ploog and some of his devices that he uses visually. And we talk a lot about the Ploog plasma. These kind of, cool circles that he kind of uses in this really neat way. And Tim was saying that we should come up with a drink called the Ploog plasma. And I don't know if you've thought any about this. I've tried to come at it from a couple different angles. Like I looked online. There's like some, snooty bartender, like craft cocktails that are called like the lava lamp. And they use like balls of gelatin and then put like an Alka-Seltzer tab at the bottom, and it makes these balls like kind of float and move in the drink.
Wow.
And I was like, that's really cool, but really snooty. And yeah. I want something that we could all make, together. Mm-hmm. And actually drink with, stuff we have in our house. We don't have to buy a bunch of fucking really expensive liquor ingredients and stupid shit like that. So,
Tide Pods, Canadian Club. Like, just keep it simple, man.
Tide Pods and Canadian Club. All right, well, you did it. Yeah, so I was trying to kind of think of, and both you and I are both whiskey fans, so I'm trying to think of something. I guess we could go maybe more blood themed.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because when you're a whiskey fan, you don't want shit fucking it up.
Nope.
Like, if you drink whiskey, it means you like liquor and you just like the booze, and like you don't want gelatin in it, or you don't want a plastic penis coming out of it for a bachelorette party. It's like, nope. Pour the whiskey in the glass and then I put it in my stomach. That's what whiskey is.
No, I'm with you, but I would like a signature cocktail for the show.
Okay, so how much is this going to cost me?
Exactly.
Are we looking for a designer bartender to make a working man's novelty drink?
I mean, I'm okay.
That's what I'm
with,
hearing.
I'm okay with crowdsourcing this a little bit and seeing if people have ideas.
Is that called Fiverr?
Yeah,
that site where you hire people to spec out work for you. Is that what it's called? Am I making that up?
I don't know.
Where you can go hey, I need a logo and it needs to be like this and that and have these words on it, and then like people bid on it and it's all just kind of affordable and under the table.
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I want someone to. But yeah, I'm gonna keep thinking about it. You think about it too. Something that we could make that would be a nice little signature drink for the show, for at least us.
Okay.
I thought it was a good idea.
I do have someone I could talk to. I know a guy. I went to school in Eugene with a guy that I think he's kind of a famous bartender. Like, I think he's made like a famous variation on a thing, and he's like actually a recognized name in the bartender world. So I might see if I can find him and ask if he would do it. I'm sure he wouldn't. But I could ask.
So that's awesome. That sounds great.
Cool. But in the meantime, you folks out there, go into your liquor cabinets, experiment.
Yeah, figure out something for us.
And so that Tide Pod thing was a joke.
Of course, I wanted to bring that up. I also wanted to. We've forgotten to mention this a few times in the last few episodes, but if you want to leave us a review on any wherever you get your podcasts, 5-star or 1-star. Mm-hmm. And you send us a little screenshot of that, and we will send you some buttons made from actual pages of a Werewolf by Night comic.
Yeah, they're amazing. I have a batch of them. We've sent some out to friends of the show who have left reviews. Thank you. New friends. I have noticed that sometimes people will just put a review up and go on with their lives, and then we'll see it and say, hey, that's a nice one. That seems to be that same person who follows us on Instagram. And then we say, hey, did you leave this? And they'll be like, yeah. I'm like, don't you want your buttons? And they're like, oh, cool, I can have buttons? I'm like, yeah, we fucking said on the show like every fucking week for like months.
Yeah, I know. But, I've done the same thing. So, another podcast I've talked about a couple times, Marvel by the Month. I went and left them a 5-star review, and they say every show, they're like, hey, leave us a review, send us a screenshot, and we'll send you cool shit. And I didn't send them a screenshot.
So you're part of the problem.
Yeah, I am part of the problem.
Okay. Did you do it?
No. No, I'm not gonna.
Okay. Well, that was counterproductive. At any rate, we would love to see your reviews that you leave for the show. Again, regardless of how kind they are or brutal. We don't care. This isn't Yelp. This isn't Google reviews. We're not buying these. Okay. No. We're not crooked. We want legitimate, honest, genuine reviews. And you'll get not only buttons made from genuine issues of Werewolf by Night, but they will be sent to you pinned to a collage that Jacob made, including other elements, right?
Yep.
From Werewolf by Night issues. They're also, so you're getting buttons on art. It's art on art.
That's right. So yeah, don't follow my example.
No.
Don't do what Donnie Don't does.
I'm the first guy that will actually take credit for things like that. I'll take credit for something I didn't do. So I'm the opposite of you. I will take screenshots of other people's reviews and send them into shows and say, this was me. Can I have my Tide Pods, please?
That's why we're a good match.
Yeah.
Because somewhere in the middle between us is a sane, rational person.
Yep. Somewhere in the plasma. All right. So yeah, leave those reviews and let us know, for God's sakes. And also, we love being interacted with on social media. So if we post something and you have a response, you don't need to DM us. It doesn't need to be a private conversation. You can post it right there on the post. That actually drives up our posts in the algorithm, and more people will see it. So I noticed that a lot of people like to talk to us privately, but make that shit public unless it's nudes. Those nudes need to be private. But if it's like a comment and a discussion like, hey, I saw you guys posted this and I wanted to chime in, just do that on social. You don't need to make that private. We're public people. I've been thinking that for a couple of weeks. I keep forgetting to mention it.
Yeah.
I mean, we love talking to everybody, but we also like to have the back and forth be something that people get to participate in. That's all.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right. Well, I feel like I babbled a lot there at the end. And I nailed it. So let's call that a show and come back for Werewolf by Night number 15. El Big Showdown. All right. Well, thanks, folks, for listening. We'll talk to you again next week. Till we meet again beneath the full moon, furry ones. Here's howling at ya.